Tom Vilsack is a former U.S. Agriculture Secretary and is now President and CEO of the U.S. Dairy Export Council. He joins me now from West Des Moines. Tom, good to see you. A very good afternoon to you. We've seen President Trump backpedal somewhat, but for an international audience tonight, explain why shutting down the border, what would it do to the U.S. dairy industry from your point of view?
It would be incredibly disruptive. 30% of all of the dairy products that are exported by the U.S. go to Mexico. 75% of all imports in dairy come from the U.S. and Mexico. $3.8 million of product crosses the border from the U.S. to Mexico every single day, supports 16,500 jobs. Farm income would be impacted, jobs would be impacted, and the relationship between the two countries would be impacted. That's why it would be indeed a catastrophic decision by the president were he to shut the border down.
What would it do on the other side to Mexican farmers?
Well, I think it would. The reality is we have developed a good relationship with the Mexican dairy industry. We're trying to build consumption among Mexican consumers for dairy products. The reality of not being able to meet the demand might basically create some confusion and some questioning about consumers and whether or not dairy is something that they should be consuming. So it impacts Mexican consumers, it impacts the processors in Mexico, it impacts dairy producers in Mexico, and I think it undercuts the confidence that we're trying to establish between the two countries with the negotiation of the USMCA, and I think it obviously will complicate whether or not the USMCA gets passed either in Mexico or in the U.S.
We'll talk of the politics in just a moment, but what I found fascinating, because I was reading that more than 7 dairy farms close each day in the United States. When farmers hear comments by President Trump putting up a wall, what are they telling you? Give me a sense, Tom, of the frustration, of this nervousness around this.
Well, they're deeply concerned. They obviously have given the president the benefit of the doubt over the last couple of years, but I think their patience is beginning to wear thin. I think they're beginning to demand some action, some positive forward movement. We've talked about tariffs in Mexico. The tariffs in China have been disruptive to American agriculture. Pulling out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, also destructive to American agriculture. So there have been a lot of steps that have been taken by this administration that have created some real challenges in the ag economy. And I think farmers were willing to give the president time, but I think there now is a desire to see some results, some positive results coming from these discussions and negotiations.